Welcome back to the Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth,
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
and it's been a while. We're back. We're ready to talk football again. It's, I guess, Pro Bowl week. Does anybody care?
There's a few people.
I missed the skills challenge yesterday. I didn't even know it was happening yesterday. I thought everything was happening this weekend.
Yeah. All fair. But let's do a little spin to this. Let's look at it like this. Look, we've been getting hit with football. If there has to be a break, I'm just saying. We've been getting hit.
Let's get to the football.
No, absolutely. But we consider look at it as a break, like a break from what we're doing in the aspect of. Look, there's 1,000 things going on in people's lives around us, in our lives personally. It's just a moment to at least take a breath, and before the big crescendo, of the Super Bowl.
Sure. But I mean, it really wasn't even a break because we've got a lot of news to get to.
Which I'm saying, without having to compound it with these week's games, it's just saying it's one less thing off the plate. So I call it a break because the games are where that's where most of my intensity goes anyway in our conversation.
And we'll forget about the big crescendo as it is coming up here this week, or we're not going to touch on it this week because obviously no game this week. But we'll start by reflecting on an insane conference championship weekend. Needed to give Curtis for some time to reprieve, to breathe a little bit. Emotions were running high last week, and we'll get to it. But then so much news from Monday to today, Friday. My goodness, it has been insane, nonstop information, news coming out, new headlines every single day. Got some hirings to talk about that happened late last week. Because the last time we talked was the Monday right after divisional week. So we kind of jumped right into it. Now we basically have been 2 weeks off from the show. So this is now, let's just get into it. Let's start talking about conference championship week. Do you want to start with the big one, or do you want to get the what do you want to do? How do you want to do this?
No. Let's work backwards. Let's
work backwards.
Let's start.
NFC Championship.
Yes.
I've been saying it all year long, and I will pound the desk again and again. Rams. Oh, right now, Rams are the best team left in the NFL. Rams are. They have everything that they need to win games. Now, you were completely correct. Jimmy G just wins. Outside of everything that happened towards the end of that game, yeah, it was close. They were really a dogfight defensively. They were really trying to hound after the Rams there. But Stafford comes up clutch. Cooper Kupp comes up clutch. Odell Beckham was a steady receiver throughout the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that you could really say kind of fumbled the bag was Skoranek, the number 8 wide receiver over there with the Rams.
Right.
Dude dropped a pass wide open in the end zone, nobody around him. But outside of that, this entire team performed so well. It's 20-17. The Rams beat San Francisco. They just played a complete game throughout the entire time. Matt Stafford was on point all day long. He had a couple of throws that were okay. The hell was that? But still, never turned the ball over. Made sure that they protected the ball. Made sure that they were being efficient with the ball. And fourth quarter came up clutch. They scored points. So that is the key for victory there. And taking care of the ball and just playing within your offense. That offense is going to be just fine. You put up 20 points and you beat San Francisco. And basically what I was most impressed about with the Rams in this game is that defensively, their mentality coming into this game was like, you know what? Bump the whole concept that we can't play physical defense, that we don't want to get up to play these games or whatnot. We are going to absolutely shut down the run game. And Jimmy G, you go out there and beat us. And for 3 quarters, it looks like he was about to again.
Right.
But as that final play came from San Francisco, I was saying it for 2 drives. Jimmy G's due for an interception. Lo and behold, an interception that I don't think is his fault by any stretch of imagination. You're getting thrown around by Aaron Donald. Right. You try to frantically get it out of your hands. but he still threw a dime to the running back out of the backfield. And the hell was that? What was this flail? I can't catch anymore and pop the ball up into the air. Like I really don't feel like that was Jimmy G's fault. I think he was
No, he
with the
didn't.
situation he was in. He put it on a dime, and that running back just effed up the whole play.
It didn't, but it's just it's prototypical, talk radio,
Yeah,
talk sports,
they've been going hard on Jimmy G.
it's just easy to just say, see, and look at his losses, look at the turnovers. He turned it over at the end, and that's what lost the game. It just, complete
Not even going to talk about Tart.
oversimplification, over, big broad stroke generalizations of, when he loses, this is what he did.
So what he did in the game before.
And when he wins, I don't get it. Again, it's the Jimmy Garoppolo effect. In it now, with as you were saying, the Rams defense comes to shows up to play. What do? They take that run game away. This little
shut down that run game.
This rookie sensation, Elijah Mitchell, which, considering this fantasy team I had, completely not on none of my charts. Never was considered.
He wasn't. I mean, Trey Sermon was the guy going into the season.
Exactly.
Everybody was like, "Okay, we know Raheem Mostert going down again," which he did.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, Trey Sermon went down.
And they had Jeff Wilson. So they already had their 3+.
Jeff Wilson to me. Let's talk about this
James
kid.
Hasty,
all.
And then there was Elijah Mitchell. I'm just saying, there's just a slew of backs that were just sitting in San Francisco.
Everybody keeps trying to bring up Jeff Wilson to me
over
and over again. No, not you, but throughout my time on TikTok and Twitter and
he had
talking
2
football,
good fantasy weeks in his
they
career.
keep trying to come at me, and I'm like, this dude is trash. He cannot stay healthy, and he is less than productive when he's on the field.
You know what he was getting for running backs? He was getting with his teammate just the year before with this whole Brandon Ayuk thing. That was, Anyway, I digress. But as you were saying, they got this stout defense that I never forgot about. I'm just like, okay, just because they're not that we want to crown them as this shutdown front four.
They've got so much talent everywhere on the field. But to me, it was like, okay, what is the number one thing that comes that a defense needs to be successful? I mean, obviously talent, but the other thing would be communication.
Okay.
You bring in an all-star perennial Pro Bowler in Von Miller, that's going to disrupt some stuff. Aaron Donald's going to have to learn how to play with him on the edge. Right. And Leonard Floyd is going to have to learn how to take a back seat for a second and say, okay, well, this dude's better than me, and I gotta let him eat, and I'll figure out where I fit in. I'll get in where I can fit in after the fact. And yeah, maybe for the DBs, it's a little bit easier for them to adjust to him and be, well, hey, we just got to hold him for 3 seconds now, not 4 seconds, for them to be able to stop a play or anything like that. Whereas that front seven has to really be on the same page every single play to be successful. Took a couple of weeks to get his feet wet, get back into playing shape, because I mean he wasn't doing anything with Denver. Comes over here, has to get acclimated to the team, has to learn the damn playbook, has to learn the whole defensive scheme, and then comes in there and every week building, getting better, getting a little bit more efficient, getting after a little bit more, getting more sacks, being more disruptive on defense, making it harder for offenses. Yeah, they dropped a couple of games in that time frame. Yes, it takes time to learn and relearn, especially when you're 34?
33.
33. So he's been in Denver this entire time. That is what he's known, is Denver's defensive scheme. Yes, it's changed a couple of times, but you have to completely learn it's a new language on defense. And when you're disguising things, it's completely new. He has to learn it, and he did that in less than 3 weeks, and then became a really substantial piece to that defense. And man, he and Aaron Donald finally, for the first time since they've been together, this was the game, and I guess Tampa Bay also would have been the game where I've seen those two on the same page and on that front seven, and just, it's unstoppable. And I don't think that there's any team, especially, we keep talking about it, Cincinnati's freaking offensive line, I don't know how they're going to stop him. I don't know how they're going to stop this front seven.
Yeah, we're starting to see the cracks finally show, and I think we seen what we seen last year with the no offensive line situation.
Mm,
Now I don't think it's as grim as that, but
yeah.
that's putting the focus right back on the Rams. That front seven, that's just too much, and I, yeah. What I found interesting, because I don't want to even rehash
Yeah.
your analysis here, because they're spot on. Um, Well, I found it interesting that San Francisco went up 17-7, and then they dropped this game when remember the Rams just a couple weeks ago went into the half
Yeah.
17-3,
Yeah.
and they gave up that 3 points right before the half. And I was sitting there like, yep, yeah, this looked like this is about to really be
A
over.
wash.
And boom, all of a sudden, San Francisco beats the Rams. They go into the playoffs,
Yeah.
and now here we're in a revenge game. It's been 6 straight, which
I mean, I think the only thing that was really different about this game is that I never had any doubt. I never had any like fear that San Francisco was going to win this game. Like I was looking at it, I was like, all right, yeah, you're up 17-7 in the third quarter, but that's 10 points. That's 2 possessions. We got 15 minutes left to play. They're going to get the ball. They're going to touch the ball 2 times. Let's see what they do. And
right.
lo and behold, they came out, touchdown, field goal, almost threw an interception, and then right after that, and this is the second time, Matthew Stafford has a bad play, immediately corrects it, and it's not like he's going to have another bad play again. He dot to Cooper Kupp, dot to Odell Beckham. Let's get some more yards with Cam Akers. Dot to Cooper Kupp again, field goal, win the game, walk off, let's go home. Like it was efficient, it was quick, and then this time the defense is the one who closed out the game. Where I was like, all right, well, I felt like there was a lot of people that felt like the second San Francisco got that ball back, oh, they're gonna go down here and they're gonna score. I'm like, where, what have we seen this entire second half that's gonna let me think that this team is going to go down and just magically figure this defense out now? A defense that is playing the most downhill football I have seen this team play downhill football the entire season.
Hey.
Like, what? How are you going to stop that?
If y'all could just see my son's excitement right now. Wow.
I don't think anybody has been more excited for defensive football than me watching the Rams this playoff run.
No. I won't even argue that. It's just I'm not laughing at you. I'm just it's the humor. It's the irony of it. It's just humorous to watch my son and this pure joy he has for football, and if you've been following this podcast, he has been talking about the Rams the entire year. So
I don't know, and I just don't understand why it feels like outside of this podcast until the playoffs started, the Rams weren't even a thought to be the winners of the NFC. It was going to be Green Bay or Tampa Bay, and that was it. And I was like, this is the best roster on paper for one, and the best they've been playing all season long is the LA Rams. They ended the season with a bad run, but they were integrating two focal pieces to their team on offense and on defense. They were figuring everything out at the end,
and bad run included and all. I mean,
they won 2 of the 3 games
and finished with a 12-5 record. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, like let's just, and they dropped the last game, so they already had to. They would have been 12-4. I'm just saying, and they 16.
They were 12-4 at the time, and if they pull out that game versus San Francisco, that would have been 13-4, and they would have been the 2 seed.
No, I understand. I was just saying a 12-5 is nothing to sneeze at here.
Yeah,
that you had that's an overachieving year, even in their slump. Their slump is their losses. Literally.
I mean, I think that's around 70% win percentage. I mean, that's not easy to do in the NFL.
Not at all. It's only a few that get it every year, and never one of them. So, with that being said, I mean, not as I already said, I wasn't surprised. How it turned out score wise and everything.
Yeah.
Now, even if it was San Francisco 20 and the Rams 17, I don't think I would have been no more surprised.
With the way they played in the first half, that was the thing.
Based on this matchup,
they played very miserably in the first half, though. Like that was where I was like, okay, come on, we got. this is a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Come on, let's get it going. It
Right.
just so happened it took them a little while to get settled. I mean, in that stadium, my goodness, I didn't think that stadium was going to get as loud as it did.
Mm. Well, I mean, LA is. I mean, they're distracted by a lot of other things. You got the Lakers, and the club
Well,
show.
the
And,
Lakers. Well, we haven't even talked basketball this year.
I know.
Lakers and Clippers, they are just dreadful to watch right now. Even though they had the classic last night, apparently, but
From very far, I'm just smiling in my soul because it was enough. Let's move on.
oh yeah, they're the.
Enough.
We'll talk about that later. It's time to talk football. But I think for San Francisco, they have to be elated with the season that they had. To have the amount of injuries that they did early on, to respond, to play as tough as they did to finish out the season, to upset multiple back-to-back upsets in the playoff. Well, I guess the first game versus Dallas really wasn't an upset. It was kind of.
Not really.
I mean, I didn't understand. I've never seen so many people on an underdog as much as San Francisco was against Dallas. But regardless, to major wins in the playoffs to make it to the NFC Championship game for one, and two to play and basically be right there. They were one drive away from making it.
Right.
And for them to have battled through what they had to this season, San Francisco definitely impressed me throughout this run. And unfortunately, it's going to end with Jimmy G not being jobless because they're going to trade him. I mean, I think that's quite obvious this offseason. We will see a trade for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Are we discussing this in the next segment out of curiosity?
I don't think I have anything specific about Jimmy G.
I think that is the most absurd thing. And I haven't heard all the news this week, but I heard that one. And that this one has had me baffled silently all week long because I haven't even had time to research this.
You know, the funny thing is, I think he's going to get traded directly after Aaron Rodgers gets traded. Hopefully,
that may be true. I don't. What the heck? San Francisco has shown me something over the years.
Yeah,
they have some real interesting views on how they deal with their franchise quarterbacks. And this goes as far back to the Joe Montana, Steve Young situation. It starts there. And you would think it would have started and ended there. And that was just the beginning of a long laundry list of things to come. Alex Smith, followed by, replaced by new sensation Colin Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to say anything else as to what happened to Kaepernick? As they pushed him out, and when it was in turmoil and he was gone, guess what? We want the understudy. Give us Jimmy G. This guy can help us bring our franchise back to prominence where we needed to be. Yada yada yada. Which he did. Now, because in your mind you had the likings of a Ferrari, candy apple red Ferrari, and you ended up getting let's say a Chrysler, and they can't get past it. They are so stuck on the Ferrari.
My thing is,
it has to have flash and flair. It has to be able to sell to the minds and the imaginations of all walks of life. And for whatever reason, he ain't checking a few boxes for them. And at the end of the day, what gets these players and coaches and coordinators hired and fired?
Wins
and losses. I said hired and fired.
Oh, and fired. Yeah, wins and losses.
And losses. If he is winning, I don't even know the percent. I didn't do the numbers, but his record is 33-14 as a starting quarterback in his career. Injuries aside, what in the world are we talking about when it comes to this? in the offseason, they're looking for Jimmy G trade offers going out. They're doing fillers and so on and so forth. What is that?
70% win percentage.
A 70%.
70.2.
Right. For somebody who don't look the part, not the guy you really we really got to go down swinging. I don't think I really want to go with this guy. He has over a 70% win percentage. 70, not 7. I'm confused. This is what I mean by the Jimmy G effect. What is the problem here? You want wins. All he does is win. 33-14 as a starting quarterback. And San Francisco now is ready to move on. And I don't have a problem with Trey Lance. But what all that I've seen in the last 3 years out of Jimmy G is, hold on, 2 NFC title appearances, 1 NFC championship, and the only other reason I can say right now, I'm broad stroking this, but stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
Only reason why it wasn't a third one is because he was injured. He was out in the second year. He comes back. He stays healthy for the most part. Even with them drafting supposedly their new future in Trey Lance. And what does he do? He finds a way to get back to the playoffs and make a magical and a nightmarish run in the NFC, almost knocking out 3 powerhouses.
Yeah.
Proposed
the 3 top of the NFC. He almost did it.
Yeah, and came up just 3 points short. And the first thing I hear, it's not even a week out. They already talking about trading him.
They were talking about that the night of. Jimmy Garoppolo.
I wasn't even watching the program at that point.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, well.
Various other
yeah.
I just saying I didn't catch that. You have to understand. I'm catching up to. This is when I hear this. Fair. I'm floored. Like, go ahead.
To your point.
Yes.
We want to talk about quarterbacks are judged off of wins and losses. And we'll talk about this in the next segment. 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks just retired.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo has not played and started nearly as many games as them. Let's make that clear as I'm about to make this comparison. But percentage-wise, he is only 7 percentage points behind Tom Brady in win percentage, where Tom Brady is around 77-78% win percentage. Obviously, like we just said, Jimmy Garoppolo's at 70. But Ben Roethlisberger, he's better than. Ben Roethlisberger only has a 67% win percentage.
Yeah, but then and you've made your point with the number, but the argument will be, well, no one is considered been great at anything. He's decent, he's respectable, but they don't put him in a conversation.
But he's a Hall of Famer. Well, I think people will say he's a Hall of Famer. I know
that's what I'm trying to say. We can have a real conversation like that. I'm just telling you how to spin those, because the idea is like, if we can make a comparison to Ben Roethlisberger, then why are we even talking about this guy? This guy's a bum, because we're talking about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady's, and
I didn't even check out.
No. I'm just making a point. Like, but the point is, we're making those comparisons. You bringing in a Ben Roethlisberger, some second rate, tier 2, tier 3 guy, that's very successful career. Let me just be very clear, and has 2 Super Bowl rings, controversially, but has 2 Super Bowl rings.
There's some other things controversial about him too, but hey, let's not get into that.
Arizona Super Bowls.
Regardless,
yeah.
At the end of the day, the whole point was he just wins. He wins football games, and yes, he missed a throw in the big one. A lot of guys do. He missed I
heard an absurd comparison.
This game, though, he did everything outside of block for himself.
Right.
Like that was, and I have to give Jimmy G the props that he deserves. He, outside of the Green Bay game, he played out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, down the stretch in that Dallas game, he did try to give the game away, but he has been playing and putting this team in position to win games again and again and again. And he is making San Francisco look like geniuses for building the defense that they had. They grab him, they go build that defense, they trot out Brandon Ayuk. Yes, Deebo Samuel is a absolutely insane weapon to have, and George Kittle is the second best tight end in all of the NFL. And then well, that's going to be controversial. No, kidding. But at the end of the day, as I said, second best. I think we both agree on who's first.
I was just saying, there's a Mark Andrews out there.
No, I would take George Kittle over Mark Andrews. Every day of the week and twice on Sundays. No disrespect,
I don't even
Mark
know
Andrews.
what we're making. It doesn't even matter.
Regardless, he's got weapons. They already had some pieces in place, and then you have Kyle Shanahan's run centric offense that he gets plugged into. Jimmy G has been the perfect guy to run that offense if they could just figure out their damn training staff and stay healthy throughout the season for once. Yes, you guys will be perennially in the playoffs, and you'll always have a shot at making it to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G as your quarterback.
Right.
Every single year. Yes, he is going to make mistakes. Every quarterback does. Tom Brady went out with in having a horrible first half, cleaning up his second half very well, and then down the stretch just never had the opportunity to touch the ball again. So, like, come on, like, everybody has their flaws throughout the game. Then nobody is perfect throughout the entire game, regardless of how hard they try.
Right.
He's going to make mistakes, but it's about building the team around him so that those mistakes are so minimized that they can still win football games. And clearly, San Francisco has done that. I do not agree with them moving off of him. I think that they should keep him and let at least allow him to play out the contract. But no, they're going to trade him. It looks like there's no possible way that they can hold on to him for some reason.
Kind of very weird.
Yeah, I do not like what they're doing over there with him, because shipping him off just doesn't make sense. But it looks like they're going to try to ship him off, and they're going to hand the keys over to Trey Lance and say, "Hey, it's your show now."
They shipped off GOAT 1.0. Okay, and I'm saying that now, in this manner, because I've now had finally put this is a pattern. It started. I thought that was just like this one time NFL, not a San Francisco thing, an NFL thing. Like, remember this most weirdest scenario? No, this is a long list of just offenses and we're seeing it now with Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen to the sports radio.
Yeah,
it just really quick. And the most absurd comment was, because they were talking about the trade, and well, if he goes over to this team, and they were doing these scenarios, so I'm just like, okay, it's an opinion piece completely.
Yeah.
But well, if you go to this team, I guess, and if the offensive line is good, I mean, decent, and if the good special teams, and he stays healthy, and and they got just weapons all around, and just all throughout the team, I guess he can win then. I was like, hold up. This sounds like something Tom Brady did, with all these weapons, because he didn't just go to Tampa Bay. I was thinking, like, and my point of the connection, and why did I bring up Tom Brady? Because he is the understudy to Tom Brady. I always connect these two. Not saying that he is Tom Brady. All I'm saying, his career, when it comes to winning,
always going to be tied to him.
When it comes to winning, he is very Tom Brady-ish. That's all I'm saying. He finds a way to win. Brady has a hell of a lot more flash, where we don't want to say he finds a way to win. Well, if you want to remember those first 3 Super Bowls, it wasn't really Tom Brady heroic arm that did it all. That wasn't the big
fantastic story. Defenses.
Thank you. Complete balance attack of both offense and defense, and a player or two was trying to decide whether it was the defensive game or it was an offensive. It was very balanced. And then the last 3 is the last 3. But that came a decade later. That's 2 totally different Tom Brady's. But my point being, Jimmy G got the privilege of being able to be understudy and under Tom Brady, as well as be tutelage under a incredible system that they got in New England.
Yeah.
Period. And I respect that, above all. With that being said, Jimmy if he had all the weapons that he needed, I guess I would be comfortable with him then. And again,
Come on.
for some reason, he's not checking the boxes in the eye test for a lot of the
If he can get to
outside
the right spot,
microwavable
they are going
society
to be,
that we live
wherever
in.
he goes next year is going to be a contender for the playoffs at the very least.
I mean, it depends on the team. He can't just go anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on where he goes, but I mean, if we're gonna be talking about a team like you were like that, whoever on talk radio was saying,
Right.
he's got the pieces, he's got a decent defense on the other side. That's a team that's gonna be fighting to win their division.
Right.
With Jimmy G at the helm, I mean, if you're a team, if you're a fan of a team that is going to be in trade talks to get Jimmy G from San Francisco, you better hope for one that they don't give up. They don't have to dismantle their team, because obviously they are basically putting up a free ad saying, "Hey, pennies on the dollar, 50% off. Jimmy G is for sale right now." And two, you should be happy once that trade goes through. You should look at your team and say, all right, if we've got weapons, if we've got a wide receiver or two, does not even have to be the best in the league, just two solid receivers. You've got some semblance of a running game, so a running back that can keep you guys on schedule, and a halfway decent defense. The quarterback situation will be just fine. You guys will be in a position to win games week in and week out. You're not ever going to get blown out. You're not ever going to not have a chance at winning that game.
Right.
And on top of that, you're going to be a team that is going to be in contention to win your division again. So simple as that. I mean, congrats on a fantastic career in San Francisco, Jimmy G. But as that tenure is going to come to a close, I'm going to be excited to see where he goes next, to see if that's a situation that can continue to breed a just win baby mentality.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the other one. That other championship game that did take place. That
What are you finding so funny right now?
Because it was a situation. Because first of all, I didn't hear from you I think it was about 24 to 36 hours after the fact. I was just like, I tried to call, I sent him a text, and then you completely just disregarded the fact that there was another game on. I was like, he's not watching this.
Barely. I didn't have the heart. I was done.
Oh, well, let's start there. How did you feel after this game?
Violated. That's how I felt. I'm serious. If that makes any sense to anybody that's listening to this, you just felt violated. I guess you could say in a sports sense. I don't know.
Whatever that means.
Right, but I mean, man, it's like it's not even the air left the room. It's not even there's a shock value. You were just caught off guard. It's not even the I can't believe what I just seen type of thing. That just didn't just happen type of thing. None of it. Take all of that. It goes beyond all that. Because again, this wasn't prototypical Chiefs dropping the ball in the playoffs like they usually do.
My goodness.
This was something else, and I ain't moved off what I felt. All I did, I got my emotions are in check because it was still raw for the first 48 hours, and I'm good. But my view never changed. I'm like now.
I'm not even
gonna say now. It's even with more resolve. That game was off. Something was severely off, and I want to sit there and say, "Oh, the Chiefs' offense, ha ha ha!" It's like this old lame joke out there.
They weren't though. So the exact opposite of what I said was going to happen happened. I was saying going into this game that the only way that Cincinnati could win is if the Chiefs came out flat and just couldn't get going in the first quarter, and they would have to jump on top of them and take advantage and go up 28-0 to start out the game. That clearly did not happen because by halftime it was 21-3. The Chiefs.
Oh, it was 10.
Oh, sorry, 10. Yeah, I forgot they got that score right at the end.
The garbage time second quarter score.
Yeah. Because we talked about this on.
I know.
I think it was Tuesday.
I know people was like, "How arrogant of him." No,
it was a garbage time touchdown.
Come on,
they
people.
were not trying. They thought they were going.
People, if you could just put your prop bets on the side, put all that out the way. You know, I got money on this game. I just really don't like that team. That team beat my team.
Yeah.
Put all that aside. Come on.
I mean, garbage time might be the wrong phrase for it. I think it was a. It was a cheap score. That's what I felt it was. It was one of those things that was like, okay, you guys should be playing to just go talk in halftime because it's not working out. And the Chiefs obviously took their foot off the pedal when it came to.
Oh man, they jumped off the bus.
Yeah, they were.
That bus just went downhill all on its own.
I'm talking about at the end of the half, specifically that they just did not think that it was going to be one of those things where that they weren't expecting for Cincinnati to try to score at the end of that half. They were like, okay, we got our score. We were up 21-0 or 21-3 at the time, and we'll just they're just gonna play it out, kneel it out, get to the locker room, and then they went down super quick, got that score, and then boom, the debacle at the end of the first half happened on Kansas City side. That's where I think the implosion started, because that's when Andy Reid tried to get cute, or he was going to let Pat Mahomes apparently do whatever he thought was best instead of being the damn head coach and saying, no, we're kicking a field goal here. Because to me, at this point, because they go down there and they do they were pulling they were deep in that bag.
Look,
Cincinnati was.
You are so right. I don't even want to cut you off. I've been listening to this all week, off and on. The same point, and and I'm not saying this to you. Please don't take it that way. It was more like I was kind of taking it that way. Sunday was Sunday we were talking. No, Monday. Oh, Monday.
It might have been Monday or it might have been Tuesday.
Black Monday.
I don't know. Remember when we talked?
Oh Lord, yeah, it was
Was it Tuesday?
It was Monday.
It was Monday.
It was Monday afternoon.
I can't remember. It was again. This week has been crazy.
Black Monday. Anyway, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought.
I was basically talking because to me, I believe if Andy Reid would have just kicked that field goal,
got it. I'll let you finish your point.
That was going to be the backbreaker for Cincinnati, because to me, it took Cincinnati's to go armpit deep into their bag of tricks to go get that one touchdown at the end of the half. They were pulling out everything to go get that score. And when they finally got it, it was just like, whew, okay, fine. We're on the board. We gave our defense a break. They can go out there and they can get after it.
And that is exactly how I felt in that sentiment. Now, most people won't feel that way. Go ahead.
But then, to me, the backbreaker would have came. Kansas City comes storming back, and again, less than a minute left on the clock. Go straight down the field. Let's either get a touchdown if we can, or if not, let's just go down and score. Because then you got to think psychologically what's going to happen to this team. We can do everything that we can to go take 4 minutes off the clock and go score a touchdown at the end of the half, but we leave even 2 seconds left on the clock. Patrick Mahomes is going to do something to go ahead and get a score, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And that would have been demoralizing for that defense. That would have given that offense no hope that they would have been able to get back into that game as long as they score there. It didn't matter about if it was a touchdown or if it was a field goal. Does not matter for Kansas City. All that matters is scoring points at the end of that half, because that psychologically would have just broke Joe Burrow. It would maybe not break Joe Burrow, because that dude is unfazed by anything that happens, apparently. I mean, got sacked 9 times in the game and still won in the playoffs. But regardless, offensively, even for the coaching staff, it's like, okay, what the hell can we do to stop this team? That's where I like psychologically you can get into their head. But no, you try to get cute and take as many points as we can. Doesn't matter how much you score at the end. Just get more points on the board and go into halftime with them thinking, no matter what we do, they are going to score points on every single time that they touch the ball. If they really want to, they will score, and there's nothing that we can do to stop them. So that is where I felt like they lost the game, because they gave Cincinnati a little bit of hope defensively and offensively. Defensively, in the respect that, oh, we can stop you. There's ways to stop this offense. Whether it's a bend don't break mentality or not, we can stop you now. And then offensively, it's like, okay, our defense has the opportunity to stop them. They just need to stop them 2 times, and we're right back in this game, which is exactly what happened in the second half.
Right.
So that was my mentality, and I Andy Reid, you have to take it on the chin. You lost your team this game.
Okay, before we get to the Andy Reid thing, you got to go all the way back. Why I said this was a weird game, and just hear me out. Y'all listeners, hear me out. This, call it a fan view. I don't want to say bias. It's just I watched it analytically like I always do, but I watched it. There's some fandom there. There's a bit of a bias or whatever, But the point is, that is my team.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it how I seen it. Some of it I'm calling it how some things made me feel. But with that being said, your analysis of the P. Ryan touchdown, absolutely correct. And this is what made the game weird for me. What you seen is valid, because what I seen was something a bit differently, and I think it's just as valid. And I think I've listened to all these views about this game throughout the week. Some of it is very similar, but what they're saying, it is valid in a certain type of context. And this is what I'm saying. Let me say, taking the P. Ryan thing. P. Ryan comes down, like you saying, they exhausted every option. And my point is, this dude ran off a 40-yard touchdown to end the half. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking it was mixing for a split second.
I did too. I would have freaking won my parlay.
Right.
Don't even get me started.
but come back. So P. Ryan scores. So I'm looking like, I know that was not really in their playbook. And
like I said, deep in the bag.
I'm just like, okay, if P. Ryan is happened to be the one that has to do the scoring here, we got this. Now, Chicago and Kansas City, okay, you did your typical. You let that one big play go again, and now you let a P. Ryan score from 40 yards out. Probably had the best run of his career. Moving,
you got to give him props with that Baltimore game.
I was gonna say, I don't have a problem with him. It's just outside of his one limited opportunity, he hasn't had much, But it was kind of like, oh, look who scores, the backup running back who never scores, But here he goes. And so, from a fan's point of view, and I'm watching the Chiefs sideline, and I'm listening to Tony Romo talk. I don't really have a problem with Tony Romo, but I was having a real problem with him in this game, because everything they went out of their way. I mean, they went out of their way to try to find every stat that can just make that would just reflect Kansas City in some negative way. It just one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. And they just kept reeling them off. I'm just like, dude, how much stuff are y'all coming up with?
Well, to that point, what I heard is that they specifically had to find new stuff to talk about, because they've had 5 Kansas City games this season, on top of the fact that they already did just 3 weeks before this, the Kansas City Cincinnati game. So they had to find new material to talk about.
This made it. This was horrible. And Tony Romo has gotten ripped all week through nationally through podcasts, blogs, Twitter, all that stuff.
I have not seen any of this. About what?
There's a big complaint that they do not like the way he called the game. They just there've been complainers that have been complaining all throughout the year, but I don't really share that view, so it's kind of like I took it with a grain of salt. But for a small sample size of this one game, there was this outpouring.
Gotcha. I was going to say, Tony Romo has been one of the best commentators since he's been in the booth.
I'm going to say that, but what I've said, I've had no problem.
Analyst.
and I had no problem with him, but I had a problem with him in this game.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they lost and he was the one analyzing it. And no, it was the crap he was talking. I was like, what? This don't even sound like. What are you talking? Why you are reaching, swinging for the fences here? And I mean, they were pulling stats out. They literally like, what was the last one? And I was just blown. I was just they were like, oh, by the way, we got another stat for you. I'm quote. That's what he said. We got another stat for
Yeah.
you because they was. I mean, go back and look at the feed, listen to it. They was stat after stat after stat. My point being,
By the way, I wouldn't know because I actually, for the most part, I mean, outside I think of only Chicago games,
Mhm.
and even with some Chicago games, I listen to football on mute. I've
Okay.
completely turned off.
Which is, I'm not listening to a Chiefs game on mute because
Yeah,
I'm trying.
which
to
is
hear
fair.
that. Right.
Which is
So,
why I say Chicago too. For
Yeah.
me, I will listen to it. But
right, but so it was like they was like, oh, we got another stat for you. No team in the NFL history has ever won back-to-back overtime games in a playoff series.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
That was maybe I said that for a split second. Then the second thing was, is that really a stat? You know, like where in the world? I never even thought to think about such a stat. And now I'm furious because the Chiefs are struggling. They down 3. And I'm pissed now. And I'm like, you know what? If they got us to break history, then so be it. Let them break history. You know, we finna make we finna make history tonight. Because that's all I was saying.
Well, they made history just playing in that game.
Yeah. Now you got me so far back off. I was back at halftime. P. Ryan scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back, y'all. P. Ryan scores a touchdown. We'll get back to that in a minute. So I'm thinking like a Chiefs fan or one of these Chiefs players on the sideline and like, look here, man. We've been lighting this team up, mopping them up and down this field all half.
They could not stop.
And we just let off we slept at the wheel for a split second and this fool on side here and scored. No disrespect to you, P. Ryan. I'm just hear me out. This is what I'm saying. This is the lingo. This is the narrative. This fool gonna sit here and let this dude run off a little 40-yarder. Check this out, man. We got a minute and some change right here. We only needed 13 seconds last week. Dude, we can go back down here and score a touchdown. Take that 7 right back and go into this half. And then, as you were saying, come out in the next half, jump right on top. Hear me out.
No,
Stop. Don't
totally
jump.
Agree with you.
Jump right back on it, and we can close this thing out. We're done.
Yeah.
Third down play comes, right? Because we're running out of time. Field goal unit should come out. However, considering what just happened, I'm looking at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes talking, and I could see, and then Tony Romo chimes in and explains what's happening, and he deferred to Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes said, "Coach, I got it." Hear me? Don't jump in yet. As me, as a Chiefs fan, you're not. I'm saying not somebody who respects the Chiefs or y'all can. As a Chiefs fan, you know what? That's ballsy. We are the AFC champions. They have been back-to-back AFC champions.
Yep.
They have been disrespecting us this whole time. We have just slayed Goliath.
100%.
And this little upstart team gonna come up in here and try to, and then little P. Ryan just score. We taking this back. And I can see them like, you know what? And nothing told me, hey, they're gonna go out here and just execute the play and score a touchdown. That's my thought. And it didn't happen. My thought was this. Okay. It wasn't, you know what, they should have kicked the field goal. That wasn't my thought. My thought was, you know what, this is really a rushed thing anyway. It can happen. It's 50-50. You can either catch the ball, make the play. Don't catch the ball, don't make the play. You know, they didn't make the play. More times than not, you would have. However, nothing going into this half is telling me we're going to have any issues coming back out in the second half. We're just going to continue doing what we're doing. We'll come back down and get 3 or 7 on the next drive when they come back. Now, my issue, of course, that did not happen.
Yes.
My issue has been this hindsight narrative that I've had to listen to all week long. Because everybody is saying, let me just tell you, they did the little quick takes, and from Monday to Tuesday, then it died down and it just became tongue. But let me tell you where the game was lost. It was lost on that one play. The one play with the Tyreek Hill when he dropped it. That's where they lost it because you score 3 there. Now hear me out. This is the lingo. They score 3 there. We got a whole different type of game going in the second half, and even with them scoring, you're up 3, not down 3. See, it was all these scenarios. I'm just gonna like, you're missing the whole point of this. That's one play. That one play does not qualify what did or did not happen in the second half. Let's just establish that. To the world. I don't know. I'm not saying
I 1000% agree with you.
That one had nothing to do with the other. I understand in the concept of the numbers, had they played the second half exactly the way they was going to play, had they kicked the 3, that's all circumstantial. We don't even know how that would have played out. And to your point about psychology, I understood that psychology, and that's fine. I call that I call that, that's kind of a broad stroke, the long game, view, as opposed to short game was we gonna take this 7 right back, and then we gonna jump on and then basically kill shot him at the first drive in the third quarter.
100% agree with you, and here's where I 100% agree with that sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
From Patrick Mahomes, I'm okay with that. Andy Reid, you are the head coach. You're supposed to be the person, game manager. You're supposed to be the one with the long-term view. Sean McDermott's not letting Josh Allen wave him off. Even Matt LaFleur told Aaron Rodgers what to do. It didn't work out. But then that blame was on Matt LaFleur. It wasn't on on Aaron Rodgers for that matter. So that's why it pisses me off, and this is why I say Andy Reid lost him that game, because not only was it the issue with that specific play, second half, where in the hell was CEH? The dude that was gashing him for 4.5 yards per play. They couldn't stop him to save his damn life.
No.
Like, this dude was falling for 6-yard plays. And this is the sentiment that Andy Reid has had for his entire goddamn career, is he does not run the ball when he needs to, even when you guys drafted him specifically for this. And on top of the fact that you've got this diamond in the rough, Jerick McKinnon, who has been dominating this entire playoff run.
Freshest NFL player in the league.
Like I said, I agree from the Patrick Mahomes standpoint to go out there and let's kill shot him right now. Let's just do it. Let's get it done here. Let's shut him up and let.
I understand, and I'm not saying it was the wrong call. All I'm saying is I understood, and I even agree. Like, look, it's a ride or die play. However, the numbers are in our favor. We should be able to score on this. They didn't. That's what happened. They just didn't. They didn't execute. It's almost like a 2-point conversion. Because that's the other.
Because what you stated just a little bit ago was the reason, more of the reason as to why you kick that field goal instead of going for it. You get the damn ball back anyway. It doesn't matter. That's the difference between scoring a possible 10 points and no points, which actually happened. And I understand your sentiment with the hindsight.
I was gonna say no, and I want to couple that with. This is what you get with a high-powered offense, and as efficient and as successful as them. I can see where this became.
Andy Reid has to be above that.
No. I'm saying I can see where this became a real. Yes, 50-50. We can go for it. We don't.
I'm even okay with Eric Bieniemy trying to go out there and say, "Hey, coach, we should go for it here." But no, Andy Reid, you are the leader of this team. Your walrus face is the face of this damn franchise. You need to make the decision to exactly. You need to be the one to go out there and say, no, the smart play, what we got to do for the long term and for the entire psychology of the game. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because even in his press conference, he stated that it was probably the smarter thing to go ahead and kick that field goal.
As I said, game was weird. Everything you said, it's fair, and I don't disagree with it. I couple it. If you have to see it from the fan view, and
I do.
Most of the country doesn't. It's just
which I agree with. Yeah.
It's this hindsight. See, If you just did it here, right there, that play right there,
No.
y'all here hot dogging.
That's where it started for me. It's not where it ended for me because that second
And-
half was egregious as
Now,
could be.
this is where
Oh.
weird goes off the rails. Cincinnati couldn't hold a candle to Kansas City in no way, shape, form of any imagination on Sunday.
Yeah.
There must have been a clone machine or something that cloned the entire Kansas City Chiefs team that came back out, coaches, staff included, because it was literally two different teams that showed up. One was the Kansas City Chiefs that we know and love, the back-to-back AFC champions, Super Bowl champions for 2 years ago, back in first place, the highest seed in the AFC, just slayed Goliath, and basically red carpeting your way to the Super Bowl. And what just happened here? And then the clone team that looks like you, move like y'all, talk like y'all, but all of a sudden can't seem to execute like y'all. And now we have a representation of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the Kansas City Chiefs out uniforms with the Kansas City Chiefs playbook.
Yeah.
That they never studied. Because that's what the Chiefs look like as if they had a basic package. They ran a basic package offense, pass heavy, for nearly a quarter and a half of football in the second half before finally waking up. Oh, I'm sorry. And they sprinkled maybe 7 runs in the midst of that the quarter and a half.
That
I said sprinkle.
Yeah.
And I mean sprinkle. It was not much. And
it doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense because we made the same discovery, but it really didn't come to resonation for either one of us until the game was over.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like, wait, what the hell happened to the run game?
Yeah, I kept looking back, and I'm like, "What? Okay, he threw it again. Okay, he threw it again."
Because I had to play this game backwards from and that I kept. Where the hell happened to the run? Because I just kept remembering spectacular run plays when they ran the ball, and then all this stagnant passing and questionable route running and time steps, and then all of a sudden no one's covered, and now Patrick Mahomes can't decide whether he wants to run forward or backwards or sideways. And I'm sorry, I don't know what team showed up in the second half. That was not the team that went in the tunnel in the first half.
I'm sorry, I have to talk about this rush game,
please.
Kansas City. What the hell? Jerick McKinnon rushed only 12 times, and he was the leading rusher because we both recognized this at the beginning of the game. CEH wasn't even the starter. Jerick McKinnon was.
Exactly.
Jerick McKinnon comes out, and he rushes the ball 12 times for 65 yards. It's 5.4 yards per play.
Mm-hmm. Very efficient.
CEH comes out, and he's literally, like you said, sprinkled in 6 rushes for 36 freaking yards. And that's 6 yards per rush. Again, I asked Andy Reid, what are we doing?
18 carries from your running back core
for about 5.6 yards per carry between the two of them. And
you controlled the game with
from the jump
with your run game, and yet scorched them with the pass game. It is the perfect balance to an offense.
Jerick McKinnon on top of that was 3 for freaking 30 out of the backfield.
Man, 95 all-purpose yards from scrimmage, huh?
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying.
Jerick 15 touches.
Just next man up mentality. Like I said, it was a big signing in the offseason, but he was coming in as the number 3 or maybe the number 4 because that was Darwin Thompson. And my point was that's just what it was. That's how everybody looked at the McKinnon signing. I was just
no, that's not how I did.
I was just like, he's sitting back there. I'm like, some backhanded way. I'm like, he gonna be real fresh in the second half.
Yeah,
and I mean,
he has been outside of Cam Akers.
Yeah.
He is the freshest
He's the
running
freshest.
back in
He's the
the
freshest
NFL.
one in the AFC. I tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
So I just that is where they lost the game to me. Is Andy Reid? I understand that Eric Bieniemy is the play caller. Regardless, Andy Reid, you have to go to your OC and say, I don't give a damn. We need to stay ahead of schedule. We need to bleed the clock. I want us to be as healthy as possible for the Super Bowl. We're running the ball and we're getting out of here with our at the time 11-point lead. Regardless if you score or not, they wouldn't have the damn time to go out there and get a touchdown to Jamar Chase. They wouldn't have the time to kick the field goals with Mr. Money Mac or Shooter McPherson over here.
right.
This dude who's been, my God, automatic in the playoff. This dude does not miss. He's honestly, he looks like to me like a Robbie Gould in the making. This dude does not miss in the big spot.
We'll see.
Obviously, he's a rookie.
I hear you.
But
I'm not gonna knock it, but you know, it can't be just 1 year thing.
I agree. But he, to me,
checks all the boxes right now.
Yeah, for sure. He's the best kicker right now.
I mean, you know, it's Matt Gay who tried.
He tried.
He tried.
So to me, yes, Cincinnati has a lot of pieces, and we'll get to Cincinnati in a second. We do have to finish up this thought on this team, but Kansas City, I'm thoroughly disappointed because it was in your hands. And the reason why I'm so disappointed, it's not because I'm just this diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan as you are. It's because I was looking for the best matchup in the Super Bowl. Regardless of my fandom for the Rams, because I've been backing them all year and I've been their biggest supporter.
Right.
I wanted to see the best Super Bowl possible. And that would have been Kansas City versus LA, the best team in the AFC, the best team in the NFC. Freaking go at it.
Right.
Like, when we already got to see the game of the year in Kansas City versus Buffalo. So give me game of the year part 2 in Kansas City versus LA. Right. Like that would have, and it's in LA. Get like,
and for the finals, for the big stakes.
Yeah. So like that to me would have been everything, because you got two legitimately complete teams. I mean, Kansas City has the best offensive line in football after having basically the worst offensive line in the second half of the season last year.
And then a history of football, too.
No, that's Cincinnati's offensive line right now.
Yeah, in the Super Bowl. Ridiculous. Obviously, you don't need an offensive line.
But let's talk about them, because Cincinnati, you got to give credit where credit is due. I will anyway. I'll let C4 take this part of the show off. Okay.
Cincinnati, you're gonna do this whole. They did what they were supposed to do. They do, they just executing. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. They did all that in the midst of what happened in this game. Sure. Yep. They did everything they were supposed to do. This ain't about what they were supposed to do. This ain't even about Cincinnati as to why they won. Cincinnati did not win because of Cincinnati. Anybody can argue that. You can argue that. I don't care. I'm not going to be moved on this point. This was about what Kansas City did not do. And whatever the hell that was in the second half, which was virtually nothing, all I'm trying to get is an explanation, because I have not seen this in professional sports in general. How do you go from 100% hot to 2% cold? That doesn't make that 28-3 in Atlanta didn't even hit the scale like it was hitting me in this. This made absolutely no sense. Atlanta sitting there dropping a big game on the biggest stage, that does not surprise anybody in America. Whether you love them, hate them, be indifferent with the Chiefs, you cannot sit there and tell me, oh, well,
expected it.
When you look at Cincinnati, man, let me just explain what they did. But they did this, and if you do that, that's how you win games. That's how you be safe.
Well, let me tell you. No, I'm kidding.
That's how you play it safe in the barbershop. That's how you play it safe on your networks, and so you don't get fired and say anything too controversial, or keep your Twitter feed down. Yeah. You don't want to. I understand. I ain't talking like no. I don't have a Twitter account, so which is fine. And I have this. We have this. Our comment section, but people are not brave enough to really get out there. Yeah. So with that, let me just speak freely. And I'm gonna say what you all wish you would wish yourself to say. at times. Maybe you don't necessarily agree with this view in this moment, but you're not gonna be. It's not. I didn't see anything in the second half that spoke. My God, look what Cincinnati is doing. It
Well, the reason why
offensively
they
or
won the game
defensively.
is because, as you say, there are things that Kansas City didn't do, but Cincinnati took advantage of that.
True. Let me. And I was a simple oversimplified to this, which will make more. It'll save a lot of time here. Cincinnati doing what they needed to do to stay in the game, to chip back way into it, taking advantage of an opportunity, was far overshadowed by what Kansas City could not do all of a sudden.
True.
And that's all I'm really getting at. I just find it weird.
Well, I feel like
it could be week 1 of the season. I would have still said weird, but at this stage of the season, this season is matured, aged. We're at the very end, and it's like it's like Usain Bolt running a 40-yard dash, and at yard 35, he just gets cardiac arrest and falls completely flat on his face in one fell stroke. No one found that interesting that Usain Bolt just passed out at the 5-yard line. I mean, at the 35-yard of a 40-yard dash, as opposed to y'all didn't just see what Chiefs just did? Just fell flat on their face all of a sudden in the race, and that they was clearly leading and winning. And
I think
no
to me,
one has batted an eyelash. They just looked at. No, did you see who he was running against? But
no,
that's what this is. That's
how you're seeing it. But that's how to me, that's how I'm seeing
what
I am looking at is
the spin. They try. That's the
I'm
media
not spinning
spin.
anything because
it's a
I
spin
agree with
because
you.
it's normalized as to that's what happened. That's not actually what happened. It happened, but not that wasn't the forefront, and that's not the leading issues and reasons as to what happened. That was a counteraction to a reaction of what just stalled out all of a sudden.
Outside of Mad
from
Dog
a team
Sports,
that never
where
stalls.
Cincinnati fans have been getting on Adam Shine's show all week and boasting about how they're in the Super Bowl and whatnot. Outside of that, all I've seen is what the hell, Kansas City. That's what I've seen. And it's the same sentiment that me and you have, not specifically about the run game, because I think me and you are the only two talking about Jerick McKinnon and friggin' CEH just getting absolutely nixed in the second half of this game. But
ask me why I'm talking about a run game so much when it comes to Kansas City.
Well, I'm watching it because what I am talking about it specifically is because it was working, and this run game is what you specifically outside of the offensive line. The run game is specifically what you built to help assist Patrick Mahomes, where he doesn't have to put it on his back this entire time. But what are you seeing?
Historically, this is the building blocks to Kansas City's DNA. They have groomed one power running back after power running back after power running back over the years. Built some very good teams, built some very challengeable and formidable teams to make a challenge for the AFC title here and there throughout the years, but couldn't get over the hump. Patrick Mahomes became a new wave for Kansas City. Kansas City was never known to have the long arm rocket quarterback type of thing. They just had very efficient quarterbacks, very sound defenses, and these, power run games. And Christian Okoye, Marcus Allen, Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, Jamal Charles, for a moment, beasting in a very small window, Daryl Williams, in the Super Bowl. Now we got CEH, Jerick McKinnon. They have there's an adopted history of a strong run game in Kansas City is their identity as to how they identify offensively. We obviously seen a new day, and when the game got weird, got tough, got close, got tight, what do? They try to pass their way out of it, and but
that's the issue. It wasn't even tight yet. It wasn't even, and it wasn't even a scare yet.
I'm just saying, but that's all the second half was. It obviously was. It was no running. They just went straight. Let's just go predominantly pass, and we're gonna try.
You came out in the half and tried to throw the ball, and it was like, why? I get, yes, there's so much time left on the clock, and yes, you want to continue to put points on the board because obviously they can still score. I get that.
Right.
But you also clock freaking management. We've been talking about this for freaking 2 weeks now with Dallas. Clock management. You run the freaking ball when you're averaging 6 yards per freaking carry.
And that's my thing. I'm not in. You're absolutely right about everything you're saying, and that's what I've said. What it makes me just question: why are we not running the ball? Why are we just throwing it 3 straight downs? Why is this?
That's a question for your boy Andy Reid.
And why is this? And why is that? Because guess what? You wasn't doing it in the first half, and you were up 20. Basically, you was up 21-3 before you let your foot off the gas. And now all of a sudden we looking up and it's 21-17. It's like, what in the world just happened here?
All right, but
no, I'm just making.
I get you. But back to the point at hand. Cincinnati did win this game. And the reason for that, yes, is in part because Kansas City dropped the proverbial ball on how to win this freaking game. As much as Cincinnati won this game, Kansas City lost it for tenfold more times. And I totally understand that. But in that same stroke, we have to give them credit for doing the job of getting the win. We have to give them credit for not flinching at all, because you could at that point still being down 21-7 and letting the defense get ran roughshod all over, all the way down to the 3-yard line. If you that could still break somebody's spirit. Like, no matter what we do, we can't stop this team. But no, they did. Mentally, they stayed into the game, and that's all it required for them to get back into the game, because as we saw, Kansas City freaking imploded in the second half.
And that's what I'm saying. No signs of imploding any other time in this run since Randy Reid and Patrick Mahomes took the helm. And and there's the adage, there's a first time for everything. And I understand that. I just find it weirdly coincidental what happened in the AFC title game after King David himself, soon to be king, if y'all believe that, still comes out and slays Goliath, and then gets what? I mean, what gets it still gets what, shot by Judas. It's
Andy freaking Reid. That's how you drop that game. You saw it, and you've recognized it, and you've stated it multiple freaking times. It is you abandoning your freaking run game in the second half.
This is 1991. This is
because it's not even about the fact that that yes, you need to run out the clock. It's the fact that your run game was working. It was keeping you ahead of 6 yards per carry. That doesn't freaking happen in the playoffs.
I understand, and it ain't about and this is the thing. I'm beyond the what has happened in the game. I'm all about why. Why did all of this happen? How is all of this happening? And I mean, when I say how, it's really getting into the psyche of what is going on with the play calling once again, because it doesn't make any sense how you went completely and absolutely 100% away from what was working. And what was the reason to make a change? And then there was 0 adjustments at any point.
That has been Andy Reid's, outside of the last 2 seasons, that has been Andy Reid's MO. I am going to make sure that my quarterback gets the freaking credit for this win. We are going to continue to throw the ball, and we are going to win through our pass game. I will abandon my run game by hook or by crook. I will do that to make sure that we win football games.
And you may be almost absolutely correct in that. I can't even argue the point. It's just the Andy Reid thing. It's like when you got the good Andy Reid, look what we can do. But you got this other guy, like the guy who stalls the football in the Super Bowl because me and Donovan McNabb got all the time in the world to come down and score twice.
Yeah.
What, 4th down? We're just going to punt it. 6 minutes left, I think. on the clock. Well, yeah, that's not enough time. I'm just throwing it out there, and it's Tom Brady with the
It's
ball.
questionable
Yeah, it's on
coaching,
it.
and I'm not saying that Andy Reid is not one of the
It's
greatest coaches of all time. He's won 100 plus games with 2 different franchises. Like that has
yes,
he literally that's a record that only he holds.
yes, and that's what I'm saying. I don't have any ill wills. Like I'll be hard pressed for it. Kansas City and anybody in coaching or in the NFL with a franchise, these owners, you'll be hard pressed to find anyone better than him.
Yeah.
Like, or or we can replace him with this guy. Who? Who's that guy? And where's that short list? Because that's a very short list.
I
And
don't
that's
think that is a list.
that, which is why it's like when even I had to sit there and hear that this is totally an Andy Reid problem and fault and all the fault and blame. I guess I don't have anything else because
I
I'm
mean,
like,
him and Eric
no,
Bieniemy have to take the blame
I'm
for this.
saying I as a fan, I don't have anything else. We don't have a better option. This is the best.
I'm
And as I'm saying, I'm left with this is the best option.
and I
that we
am
have.
not saying that you guys need to move off of Andy Reid. Andy Reid just needs to, I guess, mature again and be. You have, as a head coach, you have to have the wherewithal to go ahead and tell your OC, this is what we're doing. If you don't, I'm taking play calling. I will turn off your headset. Like that. That is as simple as it gets. And if you don't have the gall to do that, to understand, because as we both stated, that is your job as the head coach. If you're not play calling for the offense or the defense, your job is specifically to manage the game and make sure everything goes to a T.
Mm-hmm.
And you, in the second half, drastically failed at that, Andy Reid. Drastically. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, you failed in this game.
I'm beyond disappointed on so many other type of levels, and I'm more confused because I just don't believe what I've seen. And I'm not talking about, oh my God, I'm in shock they lost. I'm talking about how this was executed. I really don't believe what I'm looking at. No, you couldn't tell me you really went with that. That like, and everything's on the up and up. Everything's fine. Everything's legit. No, there's no tinkering in it. I don't believe that. And all I know, and maybe I'm just a little bit more heightened because I've been, getting into this little sports betting thing. And now there's a lot of money to be made and lost in games slated this, with these type of money lines. And
tune into our next episode to really get in a conversation about that.
And hold on and hear me out. And all I'm saying is I understand sports to be a business, and it's a business first, and it's more likely a business second. So call it what you want to call it. All I know is when I start seeing weird things that make absolutely no sense and no explanation, yet we try to pad it down with stats and analysis to make sense of, it makes sense of it to a point of view. But there's a psyche here, and I'm like, I just don't see, can't nobody tell me, Kansas City just cracked. Why would they? They didn't crack any other time. Why would they crack under this? This doesn't make any sense. They should have cracked last week if that was the case. This does not fit the profile.
It's not a big enough stage.
All I'm saying.
That's
all I'm saying.
The playoffs are different, and you of all people should know that. You have watched this team fail in the most horrific fashion.
This team,
multiple
in
as a franchise
regimes.
You've watched other franchises fail this way.
Not with this era. Not this run. This run is a little different. This is from what years past. But my point. Oh my God, headache. I am so flustered with this game because this was just wrong on so many damn levels. And I have nothing against Cincinnati, but really NFL, y'all are so big, so set on a damn storyline. So set on the next big great thing, hot thing. I had even a conversation in one of the stores today. Not today, the day before yesterday. It's like because I was wearing my Chiefs mask. Still wearing it. I don't care. It's my damn team. The hell with y'all. I'm like,
I'm wearing freaking Blackhawks gear. What are you talking about?
Like, when did your team lose? Because my team just lost. When did your team lose? Your team probably didn't make the playoffs. Whoever that is.
Probably Minnesota, but
if it is. But with that being said, he's like
in 77.
So he's like, yeah, we got Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. We got these young guys now, and I'm like, I said Patrick Mahomes ain't been in the league but only 4 or 5 seasons now.
He's 26.
He's very
He's
young.
not even in his
He's
prime
like,
yet.
I know him. He's like, but I'll probably be saying the same thing about Joe Burrow 2 years from now. See, but that's a thought process of just the next hot thing.
Okay, yeah,
That
if that's somebody that truly believes that, that is a person that does not watch NFL football.
that's a lot of people in this country. That I ain't saying it all. I said there's a lot of them.
And that's why I don't take
It's
anybody
just
else's
whatever's hot.
analysis.
So, because the whole point was, the Chiefs. Oh, we're hearing about the Chiefs. Okay, Chiefs again, 4th time, huh? Let's look at since that. I can kind of roll with this Joe Burrow thing. Like, I mean, everybody likes an underdog. And so now the Chiefs are the villain. That's, remember when we were talking. I'm like, when did they become the villains of the story?
They still aren't the villains to me.
No, the way they have been slighted. Usually, you've been getting more Kansas City feed than I have.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. All I'm getting is this. They just punning a joke right now, they overconfident, and I don't think they were overconfident. Did they make a mental mistake? Play calling? Damn sure, yes. Mental mistakes? Don't every team does it all throughout the game? Every game, it's
I would agree with that sentiment, but that's the reason why I don't listen to because you got to understand, I'm a freaking Bears fan. The butt end of all jokes on the internet right now, and we'll get into that in the next episode with Chicago specifically. But specifically, I do agree with you in the sentiment that yes, this is weird. This isn't how it usually would have. Nobody saw this coming, and I agree with that. But on top of the fact that this is the NFL, it literally is not for long league. It is any given Sunday, and this is why we play the freaking games. Because if we didn't, we would have exactly what we thought, and that would be Kansas City versus LA. No thought about it.
And that's where football. See, football was more. I don't want to say predictable back years ago, but more times than not, the better team won. And it was just kind of one of those, you knew what it was coming down to. And I know they want to get away from all that, and everyone got a shot, and everybody has a puncher's chance, and this and that. I don't like games like this. Take Kansas City out of this. Just a team that can be so hot and then can go so cold. There was no middle ground. There wasn't no semi-middle ground.
No,
there's
no gradual fall off.
And off.
Yeah.
It was that. No.
And it comes down to there's a difference between parity and a difference between this is a game that I would have been fine with in the regular season. That wouldn't upset me as much as it does. And again, it doesn't upset me because Cincinnati won the game.
Mm-hmm.
But me and you both agree, and most people in the country agree, Kansas City is the best team in the AFC. I want the best Super Bowl possible, and that would be Kansas City versus LA. Now, am I going to watch LA versus Cincinnati? Hell yes. Am I going to enjoy every second of it? Probably. But at the end of the day, that is what I was aspiring for, was the best possible matchup to watch on to really bring home this entire season, which this entire season has been fantastic. I mean, this has been one of the best NFL seasons of all time, and that's playoffs included. I wish it would have culminated in the best matchup in the Super Bowl. But we got probably the 4th or 5th best matchup that we could have gotten in the Super Bowl. But that's fine, and I'm going to watch it. But that is what the new era of parity NFL is, and we'll see how Kansas City responds in this offseason. They've got some money to play around with, actually, which I was actually surprised to see. So they can make some moves and figure some things out on what they got to do moving forward. We've already talked about what we think they need to freaking do to fix their team. And I'm excited to see Joe Burrow, second-year quarterback, first full year in the NFL, coming out here in the Super Bowl. And this dude has not flinched at any matter of how many lights are on him. So I'm going to be excited to see what he does in the Super Bowl. and this early in his career. Because I mean, you got to think back just 3 years ago, while Kansas City has been building the dynasty that they have, that was Patrick Mahomes' second year.
Mhm.
And so, like in the same sentiment as what he was saying, not in the fact that Patrick Mahomes is now the fourth best. No, he is still the best quarterback in the AFC. But we do actually have quarterbacks um, all across the AFC for sure. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I mean, probably Aaron Rodgers is coming over. Deshaun Watson is going to resurface at some point.
Mhm.
Like, we've got guys everywhere in young guys that are going to take the helm of the guys who have just retired, and whatever that is going to culminate in the way that we are going to see this. I mean, I just forgot Lamar Jackson. Like, I mean, he's probably not going to have as long of a career, but while he's here, he's been fantastic. So I'm going to the league is in good hands moving forward. So it is going to be a little bit of a matchup, but let's just get to a point where let's not just keep trying to write off Patrick Mahomes because he lost one game. This was his his fourth straight AFC Championship game. He was trying to fight for his third straight time in the Super Bowl. Like, come on, this dude is quite different, and he just the week before did some insane stuff against Josh Allen.
Mhm.
So, in that vein, with your encounter there, this BS about Patrick Mahomes being washed, and do we second guess his contract or whatnot? Miss me with all of that. Yes, that contract is going to kick in next year, but they still got $15 million to play with. Even with that, it's a team-friendly deal, and they can restructure it whenever the hell they want to for the next 10 years to see when they want to try to get some more pieces in there to continue. They will be just fine throughout this entire process. So Kansas City is here to stay. I'm hoping Cincinnati is going to actually be a true competitor in the AFC North for years to come. I mean, obviously they had a third place schedule this year. They were on nobody's radar. Like this was a team that nobody really had any thought could be any sort of a competition this season. And they do have really nice pieces across the board. So
Mhm.
we'll have to see if Zach Taylor really is that guy as the head coach. We'll have to see if Joe Burrow really is that guy when he's playing a first place schedule, and we'll see if the GM is really worth any sort of a damn if he can fix this offensive line to protect one of the most electrifying quarterbacks to watch in all of the NFL right now in Joe Burrow. Because from strict NFL play alone, Joe Burrow is one of the most fun players in the league to watch. This dude is insane. He was running away from Chris Jones, regardless, he is a guy who we are going to enjoy watching for years to come, as well as this matchup with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. These young guys competing in the AFC, hopefully they all stay in the AFC because that will be fun to watch. Just them battle it out every single year in the playoffs. Can't wait to watch. I cannot wait to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs. Like, I can't wait to see all 6 of these guys in the playoffs duking it out against one another. That is going to be the most fun thing to watch, and it's going to be really exciting once the NFC catches up and gets some guys of their own and creates a conglomerate of guys just knocking each other off for years to come to who is going to end up with the most Super Bowls at the end of it.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes has his one. Joe Burrow is trying to get his first really early on in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, across the board, this is going to be insane to watch for years to come. So let's not try to write one of these guys off because they all have a very, very, very good setup for the next decade.
I agree. The AFC is not going anywhere and quite exciting. So, with that, congratulations to the Bengals. Yeah, Kansas City, Red Kingdom will be back next year. Very excited to see what they're going to do in the offseason, obviously. But
Yeah.
I don't not jump putting the cart before the horse, just saying in general. But as a Chiefs fan and a fan of the NFL, we'll be back.
All right. Well, that is going to be the matchup for this next week coming up. So, well, again, we're not previewing the Super Bowl. Cincinnati is going to take on the LA Rams. Those are the two that won last week. Kansas City and San Francisco are out of it. So we will get back to that conversation next week, previewing the Super Bowl. So let us know what you guys thought of these two games. I know it's quite a long ways away at this point now, but any thoughts, anything that you guys agree with, disagree with about those last games that happened on Conference Championship weekend? And let us know your guys' pick for the Super Bowl, and we'll have that discussion next week, so stay tuned for that. But we will catch you guys in the next one.